Hey, what is up boys? Ace Trainer X here, and today I want to talk about my very first Pokemon premiere event, and that was the San Antonio Regionals. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Every bit really helps me. I am a new YouTuber, so I really appreciate those subs, so keep them coming. So this list is in no particular order, but the first thing I really want to talk about is how awesome the Pokemon community is. So one thing I noticed was the Pokemon community is like insanely friendly. This is kind of a bit different for me coming from the Magic community, where there are a lot of more abrasive characters in the Magic community, but literally everyone I talked to and played with at this event was super awesome and nice. There's also just a crazy passion for Pokemon in and of itself, not even related to the card game, but just as an IP as a whole, and you could really see it. It like really shines through when people play their cards and play Pokemon they love, or just wear their swag, and it's just really, it's a totally different experience from a Magic convention. You could just really tell people love Pokemon, and that really shines through when you're playing a game with them, because it's not always about the game or the competitive aspect. They just really like being there and being surrounded by Pokemon, which is pretty cool. Literally everyone I sat down with wanted to kind of tell me their Pokemon origin story, and it was super cool listening to all the different stories from all over the nation of people coming together to play Pokemon. And there were things from like Yu-Gi-Oh to Magic converts to people who have only played Pokemon TCG their entire life, video game people or Pokemon Go people. It really didn't matter. Everyone was kind of there doing what they loved, and that was really just being surrounded by Pokemon and loving Pokemon and the IP it represents. The second thing I kind of want to mention is this was a huge event. I was talking to a bunch of the staff members, and a lot of them said that there was over 6,000 people in attendance. Now I say 6,000 people, but not 6,000 people were playing any particular game, right? Because there were about 1,000 video game people, 2,500 card game people. I think they kind of had a couple hundred Pokemon Go people, and the rest were just spectators who wanted to check out the vendors, play side events, or just be immersed in Pokemon. I think this might be the biggest cardboard event I have ever went to. This thing was huge, and it was just massive in comparison to any other Magic tournament I have ever been to. The third thing kind of relates to day 2 events. So day 2 was the people putting on the event. So the Pokemon Company International does not put on these events. I believe they contract out to day 2 to host these events, and various other companies as well. But one thing I wanted to mention is day 2, their organization was actually pretty good. Some events you go to like this are kind of chaotic and not really organized very well, or they're all over the place. But our day 1 was kind of a little complicated because it was kind of chaotic at first, but as the day kind of went on and people kind of understood what their role was, what they were doing, where they were supposed to be, everything went super smooth. The one thing I would say is that the side events at first were really sloppy, but there was like lines everywhere and no one really knew where to stand. But as of day 2, that was all completely rectified. Everyone was kind of exactly where they needed to be, so it was super good. So this event had 5 vendors. It had 5 total vendors, and for an event of this size, I really would have expected more vendors. However, the vendors that were there had a good selection of product, everything from Japanese imports to sleeves to deck boxes to accessories to plushies, all kinds of stuff. And of course they had cards, all of the cards. There were so many cards. I mean, that was the main draw of this tournament, right, was the cards. And it's kind of funny because, you know, even like the video game and Pokemon Go people, when they win events, they give them Pokemon cards. So I really just wondered, do those people just sell those cards? It's kind of weird, right? So most of my time at this event actually wasn't even playing in the main tournament. I had really 2 goals for this event. One was to get a lot of YouTube footage. I met a lot of really cool people, did a lot of interviews. I even met some famous people that I'll kind of talk about later. But you know, my whole thing was just kind of get some YouTube content and just get my fill of my very first big tournament. My second thing I wanted to do was play in tons of side events. I am a big fan of side events and then the prize wall, but I really loved the side events, the build and battle pod, the double point pod, standard events, the chaos drafts. All of that stuff was super cool. But the one event that really stood out in my mind as being the most fun I've had in a long time was actually pack battle. For those of you not familiar with pack battle, you actually take 1 booster pack of Pokemon TCG cards and you make a deck out of 1 booster pack. You might be saying, wow, that's crazy, how do you do that? But actually what you do is you make a 10 card deck with essentially rainbow energy. All energy works for anything, and then it's pretty much Ditto evolution at that point. You can evolve any Pokemon into any basic to stage 1 and stage 1 into stage 2. It's a really silly format, but it seems like actually a really fun way to play with new cards, and if you're just opening packs or booster boxes with friends, it just seemed to like expand the timeline to have fun opening those packs. I played a lot of pack battle. I mean, I was there for hours. I actually became semi-friends with the judge that was there running the event because I was there so much. If you're watching this, Bobby, you know, I was sorry I didn't do better at back battle and you seemed really disappointed in me. So by playing side events, you got tickets. Well, you actually got wristbands, child wristbands with points on them, and then you could exchange those points for prizes at the sidewall. Prize wall was actually really cool. I mean, they had everything from pins, play mats, coins, to actual product, tins, booster boxes, UPCs, you name it, plushies. I mean, it was everything, man. But the only thing I was really interested in is getting them juicy promos. That's all I wanted. So I actually got my playset of Boss's Orders, the Giovanni Boss's Orders with the regional stamp on it, and then also my playset of Arvin's with the regional stamp on it. And that's really all, honestly, I cared about on the prize wall. I'm very practical when it comes to Pokemon, and I'm not really that interested in collecting. I'm definitely more interested in playing. Moving on to, I think this is probably the 7th item? I'm not sure. This isn't a list. I'm not keeping track, guys. Pokemon is a family affair. And what I mean by that is that I played with a lot of grandparents, parents at the side events that their kids were in the event, or they were also in the event too, and they were playing as a family. I realize people my age now actually have kids old enough to get into things like trading card games, so it was really interesting interacting with people my age that had kids that were old enough to play the TCG, because Pokemon has become a familial affair. It's a generational thing now. And honestly, that's just super wholesome and cool, and man, I really love that this next generation also gets to grow up with Pokemon. My favorite person I played against was actually a grandmother who had never played Pokemon before, but she was there supporting her granddaughter who was in the juniors division. She came over from how to the Learn to Play Center all the way over to Pack Battle, where we did a couple of pack battles with her, and she was awesome. It was a really great experience meeting her and talking to her, and just her new fondness for Pokemon. So let's get to the famous people, the Pokemon fame, the Hall of Famers for Pokemon TCG video game and Pokemon Go, I guess Pokemon Go has famous people. I don't know. There are a ton of famous Pokemon people there. I'm not really good yet at recognizing a lot of these people, but the number one mention that I did actually find and get to talk to was Andrew Mahone, creator of GLC, and Mr. Tricky Jim himself. I actually got to talk to him, and that was super cool. He was kind of fleeting, so I didn't get to talk to him for very long, but it was cool that he was there and actually willing to talk to people. The other person I ended up finding was Azul, who actually won the regional. He was pretty cool. I don't really have much to say about Azul because I wasn't able to talk to him for a very long time. There were apparently a lot of other famous Pokemon and Poketubers there, Pokepeople, Poke whatever, I don't really know, but I wasn't able to find them, so unfortunately I didn't get a whole lot done. I also want to talk about the cost. So I think I broke this down, and this rough trip cost me about $600 to $700, including the hotel room. I did split the hotel with 2 other people, so that got the cost pretty down for me on the hotel room, and I drove because I live relatively close to San Antonio. I don't want to dox myself, but I am a relatively short drive from San Antonio. I mean, compared to people from like New York that I met in California. So that $600 to $700 really accounts for my hotel, the parking, the food, the entry, and all the stuff I bought at the event, and I guess gas. I guess gas isn't important. But overall, I think it was worth it. Even if I had to pay for a plane ticket to fly somewhere else, I still would have done it. It was an awesome experience. I am super tired right now. I did not expect this event to exhaust me as much as it did. Friday and Saturday were a whirlwind, but they were incredibly fun, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Speaking of a heartbeat, I am going to be doing it again. I'm actually going to be going to the North American International Championships, which is in New Orleans, and I believe that happens in the beginning of June, so that is quite a ways away, but I am really looking forward to it. This time I am prepared to actually enter the tournament, so I'm actually going to be competing next time, albeit most likely poorly, but I will be competing. Yay. My overall thoughts about the event was, wow, it was awesome. Vendors were a little on the low side, but the people there and the passion of the Pokemon player base was just overwhelming to me. It was super awesome seeing so many people passionate about what they do, whether it was trading cards or plushies or whatever, or the video game, or even Pokemon Go, I guess. People loved it. But I think the most wholesome experience for me was just the generational aspect. It was so awesome to see families getting into Pokemon and with their little kids, and even sometimes their older kids that might be 18, 19, 20 at this point, really getting into the game. I think that pretty much wraps up my thoughts and everything. If I think of anything later, I'll throw them in the comments or the description, but I am exhausted, guys, so I'm gonna go take a nap. Anyway, Ace Trainer X, don't forget to like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Only about 80, I think it's like a 20-80 split. 20% of you are subscribed and 80% aren't, so I really, really appreciate the subs, guys. Anyway, I hope y'all have some sick pulls. Ace Trainer X out. Later.